mentioned me.
What?
I said, Lauren mentioned me.
Yeah.
Probably the most reliable guy that you've ever met. Oh, you're alive again?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook now. So do you want work as a mechanic? I feel like you're so busy already, guys. But if you follow Mike Mechanic and need car help in New York.
Well, my YouTube video, I do car, repair, and I just haven't made a video because I was moving. So I'm going to start to do videos again when I work on more cars, mostly classic cars. But ultimately, I'm busy in the movies and stuff. It's,
Yeah, with your car.
I'm like the best mechanic that doesn't work for somebody. So
that's good.
It's
So have you met any celebrities doing movies and stuff?
Oh yeah, a whole bunch of people, but some people that borrow them quite a bit.
Yeah.
And one of the guys that's a writer, they actually gave him lines and gave him a character. I was talking to him about the business. I was talking because there's a lot of messed up things in the movie business. So Negative Nelly over here. So the guy starts laughing because he understands where I'm coming from. And these are all New York people.
What service do you have?
Verizon.
Verizon? Oh.
And Verizon, let me tell you, I have unlimited, but my phone is only 4G. If you have 5G, it's totally unlimited for everything, so hotspot is not really unlimited.
But then how much Wi-Fi? Because I know certain carriers will throttle you for a certain amount of Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I guess what? I've never been throttled. I use literally whatever it's supposed to be after I think 75 gigabytes they throttle you. I go 140 gigabytes. I literally do double.
Guys, do you hear me? Do you hear me? Hoping you have a wonderful evening. Do you hear me? So let's see, I got some weird audio thing. Do you want to check and see if you hear me?
Go
on my live stream. Let's see.
Let's see. This is a conundrum because you're on Facebook now?
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna have a weird echo.
Well,
Steve Calderon, do you hear me?
Wi-Fi. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay, we hear. All right, you can hear. That was so weird. Why did it tell me it didn't hear us? Guys, do me a favor, share. I was having a Wi-Fi issue, but I've connected to Mike's hotspot. So did we checked all the codes in this car?
Yeah, so we're still getting codes for the right side, and that makes sense because I can lower the right window with the driver's side switch, but the passenger side switch doesn't work. So
what do we have?
Your mom feels like she's stuck in the car, she can't get the window open, so she got to ask her dad to open it. But in the meantime, we'll just order a switch.
Maybe it's because the child lock is on.
No, the child lock. In fact, the child lock works so well that it actually will. The rear windows work. Like they should when you.
Yeah.
So that makes me feel like the master switch is fine. There's always a chance because they do a lot of work, and then the newer the car, the more complex it gets, and sometimes. If you can find something cheap enough, you don't have to put hours and hours of diagnosis into it. Like a lot of mechanics would be like, oh yeah, we got to diagnose this. And if the part is not that expensive, it's actually worth it. Why pay somebody $100 an hour and then you still got to pay for the part? $100 an hour. It's like 140, right? The dealer is even 175. I heard, So
it's crazy.
It is. It's really crazy, So, it's definitely,
Yeah, maybe I post. Somebody was saying we should list the Thunderbird. Is it a Thunderbird or Firebird?
Thunderbird.
Oh, Thunderbird for 5,000. Somebody said
5,000.
They thought we should list it for 5,000.
I wish I sold mine for 5,000. Mine was running and driving, new front end, new everything, and it's an acquired taste. People will pay 20 grand for the car if it's in mint condition, but they pay nothing for it if it's
How
not.
much did you sell yours for?
The same guy bought 3 cars off me because the pandemic. I was really hurting, and I had to sell. I sold 9 cars.
Oh my! Because you have a lot of cars.
Yeah, I spend over $20,000 a year in parts for 14 cars.
Wow.
So it's a tough business. If you don't make money, you're kind of and then I got to start turning.
And where do you put all the cars?
That's my number one question. I live in a trailer home, and I got rid of all the grass, and I poured $10,000 worth of concrete. My driveway is worth more than my house. It's pretty hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
But that's only 10 cars there. I was keeping 4 cars at the garage, but now I only have 2 cars in the garage at my new garage.
Oh my goodness.
And that's going to be something, but I have 1 car parked down the block from my garage. I have a little tiny space I can park in, and I got a couple of cars in Queens, and You
have a lot of cars.
Yeah, I could park 10 cars at my house, and then I have overflow parking. I park my truck there.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I was thinking about getting a car for movies to do background work. What's the best car you should get?
Well, there's a lot of things coming in the 80s and 90s, so I would say 80s. You start with that, make some money first, get a taste of how to get, like the trials and tribulations of going, you know, starting an old car at 5 in the morning, because you don't want to just jump in the 60s and stuff. In the 50s cars, they, you know, they'll pay like $750 a day.
Get out. Just for the car?
Yeah, they only pay $250 for 80s cars, but it's a good place to start because you can afford it. There's more of them that are running and reliable. Like, I literally have to like go over everything with a fine-tooth comb, because like with those old, like anything that's 66 and older, they come with what's called a single master cylinder. So basically anything that goes wrong with the brakes hydraulically, like if you're leaking brake fluid, you have to use the guy in front of you to stop. So that's how I explain it to people. So I'll do conversions. I'll convert to a dual master cylinder. So at least if you have a major failure, you have half your brakes left. You have something. If that, you know, I'm sure a lot of us has been around. If you've been driving for 20, 30 years, if you had a bad master cylinder, you got that little tiny bit of brakes at the bottom. You're like, oh, I got it to stop. But it still scares you. Imagine if you had an earlier car where.
How did they drive back then?
Well, if they didn't have the emergency brake working, because it was literally called an emergency brake. Now they call it a parking brake, because it will not stop the car. Oh. You know, like if you're going 50 miles an hour and your brakes pop, you know, you're like, I've had to put cars in reverse that were bad, you know, and stuff like that. Just while driving forward, put it in reverse. And if it's a stick shift, you can't really do that either. You know, a lot of the old cars were like, they call it 3 on the tree, where it's a manual transmission, but it's not on the ground. It's up here. So it looks like an automatic, but it's actually controlling.
Wow. So what color car should I get?
Not red.
Okay.
I don't recommend.
What color do they like?
I like gray.
They like gray?
Gray. Any shade of gray is usually good.
That's so boring.
Yeah, but that's what they want. You know what it is? When you're a background extra, you're not supposed to like. You get. I'm sure you know. We all done that.
See,
extra work.
I want a car that stands out.
Yeah, but the thing is that you know what? I know somebody that has a Corvette, and
wow.
we got on a show like 10 years ago, 2014. I got on a show called The Most Dangerous Year, and it would take place in 1981. So this guy had a gorgeous white.
Wow.
Corvette. It was off-white, so it wasn't too bright for the thing.
Yeah.
But after 3, we got about 14 days of work on it. Now I had 3 cars that I was able to swap around all the time. But I had a dark green station wagon. I had a beige 4-door sedan, big sedan, and I had a gray 4-door sedan. And in the end, after 3 days, they said, "I'm sorry, but we have to wrap you." So he got paid for the day. They sent him home. They said, "We've seen your Corvette too much. It stands out."
Oh.
That's why you don't want a car that stands out. You want a 4-door mommy mobile that just, you know, gets you to work and makes you money.
Ron Johnson said, I drove my 1974 Ford van all summer without brakes as a teeny bopper. Did as you said, put into neutral and reverse, etc. to slow down.
Well, you don't live in the New York metropolitan area because, you know, the people that drive like 90 miles an hour, then go in front of you and then jam on the brakes. So this is my, you know, I have to drive like tomorrow I got to go to work in the Bronx or in Mount Vernon. I have to be there at 5:30 in the morning. Not going to be a lot of traffic. It's going to be fine. I don't lose sleep over it, but the point is that it's early, and I'll probably be done early too. But there's other times you got to go in when the major traffic is around. It can take me 3 hours to get in from Long Island, and it's a hell of a trip then. And there's all these idiots driving during rush hour, and they jam on the brakes, and you got to make sure your car's up to par to be able to. And you got to be non-aggressive.
Oh, he's in what is it called? Ontario, Canada.
Yeah, and there's nobody there. I think you're the only guy there, buddy. You know, I'm kidding. But you know, you have a lot more room to play those games, you know, with the brakes. And I get where you're coming from, but I'd rather just fix them and be safe. You know, I've learned.
Change them. Yeah. Well, yeah, so I was thinking about that. I was thinking about getting an antique car and then having Carlos drive it and, like, you know, charging him half of the payments for the car.
Well, you know, the insurance is going to be cheap, but there's a limit on how much mileage you're supposed to put. But, you know, if you unscrew the speedometer, nobody knows how many miles goes on the car.
In L.A., is it easy to get those jobs? Because I know you lived in L.A. for a while. Is it?
I did not. I just did regular extra work there. I got into the union in L.A., and I did primarily a lot of work here. And then
so he's not SAG, so he would have a problem. Like,
yeah, because they hire SAG people first, like the first 25 people on a movie set, on a TV set has to be
So I
union.
can't like book a SAG and then have Carlos show up.
No, that would be that's technically illegal. That's not even just like wrong with the union. That's like illegal, like tax wise and everything else. You know, so
like that is Lauren. That is Lauren. He identifies as Lauren. No.
I don't, you might be able to get away with that in California. But,
there was actually in New Jersey where my parents live. My friend was telling me there's a woman, they're a whole family in the school district, and they identify as cats. So they have to put they meow, and there's like litter boxes in the bathroom for them.
I wonder how
it's
lonely they are.
Seriously.
Real cats have probably more friends than them.
This is interesting. I was like, I don't understand it, but okay.
That sounds to me like somebody has crazy cat lady syndrome.
I don't know.
They call it toxoplasmosis. That's
really? Is it a thing?
Yeah, that's a thing because it's crazy cat lady syndrome comes from a parasite in the cat poop. So they clean up so much cat poop, like the people at the houses that stink, they actually get toxoplasmosis, and that's why they tell you pregnant women should not handle litter boxes because it can actually affect your unborn fetus. You learned something today.
Wow. Wow, we did learn something. Oh my goodness. Oh wow, that was intense.
Yeah, my YouTube videos, all car stuff. All my other platforms are all like crazy conspiracy
theories.
All right,
we don't talk about that.
Yes,
we do not talk about that on my live stream. So is the Jeep fixed?
Yes, the exhaust is fixed, and the oil light was erroneous, so it was not really an issue, but it definitely is going to get better anyway because it had to be leaking some kind of oil.
So do you think it's going to overheat anymore?
No, I don't. It never really overheated on him. So he said it went halfway.
Did you see the video? Okay.
The thickness of the needle below half is where it normally sits. So he was sitting in traffic, so it went to halfway. That's kind of normal.
Okay.
You know, especially with all new radiator and everything else. It actually, you might see it swing back and forth as it warms up. Fan goes on, goes down.
How do we see if there's something wrong with the engine? Did you test the codes on that one too?
Well, that one has I know it has a code for the oxygen sensor, and I've changed the oxygen sensor, but there's actually a wire problem going from the computer to that oxygen sensor. And I told you that it's going to take some time. He's like, he's got out-of-state plates that don't need doesn't need any inspection anyway, so it's not like a big deal. If you were if you were registered in certain states that have an inspection rule, then you gotta pass or it's a problem.
All right, well, thank you, Mike, for coming by. Is there anything else we need to fix in these cars, or did you get it all?
Well, the Jaguar, he's got to test drive it, but he complained about the idle coming up on its own, and there's no codes. There's not really much I can really do other than do some guesswork. So I cleaned the throttle, and I checked his air filter, and it said Jaguar on it, and it was hard as a rock, and I held it up to the sunlight, and I barely saw any light coming out of it. So it makes me feel like it's the original, it's the original air filter. So
how long should an air filter last for?
Well, like 20,000 miles tops, and it has 50,000, I think. So. And he was like still like, oh, but I may want to take it to Jaguar. I'm like, why? You have to try something first, because when you have a known issue and there's no codes, it's usually something basic like that. Like, because no mechanic can diagnose your car if you don't maintain it. You know, I'm not blaming him. He has a lot of cars you could forget too. But the point is that if you have a bad air filter, you have to change the air filter. You know, like you can't wait for a code to come on. You know, but if the code comes on, it actually gives you a hint of what's going on with it.
What's up, William from New York?
And when you have a condition that has no codes, you have to guess a little bit, and sometimes you got to change a part. And when I see air filter, I'm like, you got a clogged air filter. That could definitely cause some crazy. Oh, the idle's going up on his own.
Yeah.
You know, so before his idle was going up, and the car took off, but his brakes were terrible, so the car couldn't stop. So then I got the car to stop. I said, I think you just need to stop the car. So I got the car to stop. That had a array of problems, and then. But he said it's still going up on him and he doesn't feel safe. I says, let's do this. Let's really clean the throttle first, because that usually starts from there. But if the air coming into the engine is, compromised, I don't know what the, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a normal wear and tear item. An air filter is supposed to be changed before it becomes a problem. So, like, if you have a problem and you have an old air filter, you gotta start with the basics first. You know, the fundamental things have to be right. So,
for my car in California, what do I need to do?
Well, you said that you have a brand new battery. You hook up the battery, and there's no power to it.
Yeah.
And when I was looking online, I noticed...
BMW specialists, let me know.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that any mechanic should be able to really figure it out if they really care. You know, it's really what it comes down to. But to me, if you're not getting any power, it's relatively simple.
What's up, James from the UK?
So there's a thing called a fusible link, and it looks like a big giant red thing that's on top of your battery. okay? And that's what I researched it, and I don't have the car in front of me because I'm 3,000 miles away. But in the end, I really feel it's just that, because that would be a major link. Because like any other problem, like a bad starter or something like that, you'd have lights at least working. You saying nothing?
There's nothing. Yeah. Is there anything else you can check?
Yeah,
or?
that's really, you have to start with that. It goes from the battery on. So like whatever that big giant fusible link, it's big, and BMW is famous for weird stuff.
Is it easy to replace it? Is it something Carlos could
looks
do?
Like you have to take it off in order to get the battery in. So
yeah, how do you put it back on? Like,
it just probably is a bunch of plugs, maybe a couple of connections that have.
Because I was going to try to do this window piece myself, and it looked I couldn't unhook it. It's really hard.
I wish you were awake when I was doing it, because I did it.
Yeah, we're live streaming. Do you want to come on my live stream? Why not? Dad? Somebody wants to buy the Firebird for $5,000. Thunderbird. Oh.
Firebird is a Pontiac.
Oh.
And then they make fun of it and they call it a fire chicken.
Fire chicken. Okay. Well, all right, guys. Thank you for watching. Follow my friend Mike, the mechanic. Thank him for fixing my parents' cars while I'm here. Everyone's like, oh my God. Like, I've seen some of my parents' friends, and they're like, oh, you're leaving already. Don't go. And I'm like, I've been here for 3 weeks. I fixed the internet. I've gone through broken cars. It's a lot of work with them.
Her parents were sick, so she really, couldn't do anything.
My mom got pneumonia.
And the day she wanted to do something, the car overheats and breaks down.
At a yard sale in somebody's backyard.
George needs AC. So it's...
I was going to say different breeds. Thanks, Mike. Well, anyway, guys, I love you. Follow my friend Mike. Thank him for fixing the cars. We're probably going to go back.
Anything for Lauren.
To the summer place tonight. And yeah, just hopefully the cars work.
Yes. Are you going back? You going back?
We're going back. Yeah, that's why I told you today was the only day. It was like.
Oh, because you had your dad's chemo.
Yeah, because he had a doctor's appointment today, so I had to bring him to the doctor's, and we would be here, and then I'm leaving. So I was like, oh, I'll be good, but sorry, I messed up your day. Give it a good test beating. Yeah. drive it far. Hopefully it'll work. All right. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please share this everywhere and follow Mike. Bye.